Joining us now, former head of the Illinois GOP and prosecutor, our political analyst, Pat Brady. Pat, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Glad to be here.
So, Pat, what did you make of yesterday's show of solidarity from those state leaders? And do you think Trump will ultimately end up sending troops here to the city?
Now, I think he even backed off a little bit on it last night, saying that he'll come if the mayor, I think the governor invites him, and I think he's got a better chance to get invited to the governor's house for dinner than he does have him get invited to bring the National Guard in Chicago. So ultimately with Trump, you know how it always is, he makes a big statement and then backs off. But I think yesterday, all that Trump is doing here, politically anyway, he just helped Brandon Johnson, I think, politically, because Brandon Johnson got to stand there and take on Trump, which is the kind of the enemy of the people that support him in the city of Chicago, which is primarily Democratic. So it's probably a win for the people that were standing there yesterday in solidarity against the president.
Yeah. So smaller chance of you thinking that this happens. But if it does, if Trump ends up sending in troops, how do you think Republicans here in the state would support that move? What would their reaction be?
Well, some of them, I think, have already acted irresponsibly, particularly Darren Bailey, our former nominee for governor last time around, suggested that if Brandon Johnson, the mayor, doesn't cooperate, he should be arrested. That's just ridiculous. Now, I do think there's room in this debate for whether or not there should be more national resources dedicated to Chicago. I mean, the lead-in story before me was about gun violence. We need a national solution on that gun violence problem, because the problem here in Chicago primarily is there's too many guns on the street. So there are things the president could do that would be very helpful at a national level in Chicago, but not consulting with the mayor or the governor or the attorney general or even our fantastic new police superintendent or our state's attorney. Is kind of a mistake, and they're not going to welcome federal intervention on their turf.
Yeah, we've heard that there hasn't been much communication between either side of this argument up to this point. And I know you touched on this, Pat, but you know, Mayor Johnson is saying Chicago is being singled out because of its progressive leadership and not public safety. Do you think that's what's happening here?
I'm not sure if it's progressive leadership. I think it's just an easy target for President Trump because there's no political downside. He polls about 15% in the city of Chicago. So he can come in here and ridicule Chicago all he wants, and he scores points with the broader base. But in his defense a little bit, should be a broader debate, I believe, on the crime problem in Chicago. I know we have a great new police superintendent, a great new state's attorney, and things are better, but there's still children being killed on their porches and in their neighborhoods. So we need to, I think, take a more serious discussion about this, but it doesn't help when Trump does it unilaterally and doesn't consult the people that are actually on the ground in Chicago, particularly law enforcement.
Yeah. Political analyst Pat Brady, thank you so much for joining us bright and early this morning and get your input on this. All right, we'll talk soon.